Consider following my Twitter because these cool people do, but aside from that, let's get straight onto the guide. Symmetra's primary weapon, the Beamy Boy, makes Symmetra emit a ranged beam dealing from 60 DPS to 180, leveling up every 1.33 seconds. The beam decays from level 3 to level 2 in 4 seconds, and from level 2 to level 1 in 2 seconds, also generating ammo by shooting shields. Her alternate fire releases an explosive energy ball that deals up to 120 direct damage with a 2 meter splash radius, taking 1 second to fully charge. Starting off with a bit of tech. The only notable and somewhat advanced piece of tech is to cancel the sound cue made from firing your alternate fire with your abilities, as Top 500 Symmetra main Harmony explains here.
If you press Q to pull out your ultimate right after you let go of the orb, then it makes no sound at all. It also works if you throw a turret right after letting go of the orb.
From light into being.
This is mostly used to make it easier to land your first shot from an off angle and to catch the enemy off guard since they don't have to rely on a sound cue to dodge it. A fundamental concept with Symmetra is to keep short sight lines and to soft off angle to where you can still hit the enemy shield. For instance, on Havana first point attack, by pathing left side, you have a short sight line onto their core paired with a soft off angle so they can't hide from your damage, and when you first peek, you can use the tip mentioned prior. However, this short sight line may be unfriendly to enemy heroes such as Doomfist, hence you could reposition on a wider angle with your core to prevent him from punching you into a wall. In terms of when to use your primary or secondary fire, you should mostly be using secondary fire in between fights to gain some ult charge, or at the start of a duel to land some instant burst damage. If you're standing on an off angle and shooting right clicks all game, you might as well be playing McCree. You also want to be varying the charge of your secondary fire in order to make it more unpredictable when enemies corner peek from mid to long ranges. Symmetra's first ability, the AirPods Pro, makes Symmetra launch up to 3 small turrets, each dealing 40 DPS with a 20% movement reduction, 30 HP, and a 10-second cooldown per turret. Also note that on console, the DPS is reduced from 40 to 30. In terms of usage, having as many turrets up as possible when you're not beaming down a target can help relieve pressure off your Reinhardt, as Tempole explains here.
You have more turrets available. You should be putting out another turret, right into this corner here. That turret should already be being deployed. You have them charged. All this time, their turret's not out, and your Reinhardt needs your help to help slow down incoming enemies like that D.Va. Reinhardt is really, really good with speed. It's why Lucio gets paired with him. Your turrets make it really, really annoying to push into a hero that cares about speed. It's not giving your Reinhardt speed, it's slowing down the enemy that would like to push into your Reinhardt, which helps him control tight distance, makes it easier for him to stick to enemies that he would like to swing at, makes it easier for him to back away from enemies that would like to swing at him, like a Reinhardt when he doesn't want the trade. You need these out. You need these assisting your front line. I also want you more aware of redeploying your turrets, not in downtime, but in time where it's not hard combat. If you're doing left click work, yes, I'm fine with that, but if you're doing right click work, redeploying a turret has higher value if you can get a turret deployed without, it getting destroyed on the way to being deployed, etc.
You should also spend a turret or two marking flanks that the enemy are likely to use, as Tempole again explains here.
1 is enough, 2 is fine. To help your Reinhardt with the battle, if the battle happens here, etc. Totally fine. Give me something that provides a little more protection on this flank. Give me something that's an early warning system if they take the good push, which is through high ground here. Or give me something that, warns me if they're coming this way, etc. Your turrets, yes, you want to use them for their damage, for their slow, primarily for their slow, but you also can use them as early warning systems on flanks. I'm not saying, spend all of your turrets covering the flanks, etc. That's not what I'm saying, but put a turret on whichever flank you think is more critical, more important, etc.
Building off that last bit about what flanks are important, there are 2 main factors to help you decide which flanks to mark, which is the range of the enemy composition, as well as their mobility. To help explain this, I'm going to use the main melee finals between Dallas and Shanghai as an example. So right here we see Sparkle put all his eggs in one basket and mark this soft flank here. Not only is this inefficient, but Shanghai's comp, specifically the McCree, will outrange the entirety of Dallas's comp. Therefore Lip is going to be looking for greedy off angles. Instead, Sparkle should have placed at least 1 turret right side and 1 by coast to act as a warning system, buying some time for Dallas to deal with the off angle. And, as you'll see here, Lip ends up taking a greedy off angle and almost ends up one-shotting Sparkle. With the mobility factor, if Shanghai had a more mobile comp with an Echo or a Doomfist, the high ground angle above point could be marked as it's easily accessible by mobile DPS, unlike a McCree. If however you are going to be using turrets on a hard choke, you ideally want to reposition them in between fights to make your turrets less predictable. The penultimate use of turrets is to help win the flank wars. For instance, on Lijiang Gardens, if there's a Tracer duel in Dojo, you can throw in a turret to act almost like Zen's Harmony Orb to add 30 or 40 more guaranteed DPS to give your Tracer the edge in the duel. Lastly, a fairly niche use of turrets is to utilize the hitbox to block headshots. This is most useful when up close and personal with snipers who try and quickscope you. Symmetra's second ability, Portal 3, makes Symmetra place a teleporter up to a 30-meter distance with 300 HP, a cast time of 2 seconds paired with a 10-second cooldown. With a broad overview of Sim's teleport usage, here's Spilo briefly explaining why and how Sim TP should be used more selfishly.
TP should be used more selfishly until you get to, like, I guess, a higher rank when there's more communication and more synergy, and even then, you're still using it a lot selfishly. For TP bombs, for you set up a TP, you charge right click, you TP through, right click on a backline, and then TP back again, like those kind of things.
Building on that point about TP bombs, there are 3 primary types of TP bombs, which are differentiated by how many turrets you place. The most commonly known one is a 3-turret TP bomb. This is best used before the mid-fight due to how expensive this TP bomb is, and due to how greedy it is, you should time it half a second after your tanks engage, so they take the brunt of the damage and attention, helping you get away with this greedy play. You can also be more sneaky and place your turrets on a wall, so the enemy has less time to react to your TP bomb, as you see here on King's Row. The second TP bomb is the least powerful of these 3 and is done during the mid-fight on the fly, where you TP first, then place a single turret through it. This is to quickly deal with squishy, long-range threats. For instance, on King's Row defense, you could quickly pull this off against an enemy sniper. The third TP bomb is a mixture of the 2, where you place 2 turrets beforehand, then the TP, then another turret. This is essentially a quicker version of the first type of TP bomb, but the downside is that you don't get to fully charge an energy ball. Also, after you turret bomb, you should cancel your TP to save a few seconds off cooldown, since after you first TP bomb, you're not going to use the TP anyway, and it's going to be destroyed regardless. With broader uses of TP, you can do a 180 TP past a choke to apply some pressure to break through a choke, as Nata explains here.
Can we do something to split their focus is the first thing you should think about, or get some type of angles. I think, hey, do you have a Reaper? Can you sort of have a way where your core is pushing main, and then your Reaper sort of teleports behind here, and then surprises them from behind? Enemy team's playing here, right? The Reaper like pressures their backline. They all turn around for the Reaper. You push then in. Or the Reaper goes behind, like shoots the Mei, forces cryo, and then your team pushes forward.
You and your team can also take the TP past the choke for map control purposes, specifically making the enemy team play stacked on top of each other with no angles. For instance, on Icon Ward first point attack, if you clear the angle co-side, the enemy team will likely panic and play clumped up when you make a rotation like this, giving them no angles, whilst the rest of your team has multiple flank routes. If you want to see actual proof of a rotation making the enemy team give up their angles, here's myself explaining how a rotation can gift your team map control.
The enemy team will give up their angles. Look how sloppy fast I'm playing. Where is that angle? It's nowhere. I can fit all 6 players on my screen right now. There's no angle. StormCrow's not even looking over here. There's no angle here. Well, there is an angle here, but no angle here. No angle back here. No angle here. No angle here. No angle above. It's just everyone's clumped up into one spot. There's 0 map control. This is a really good rotate. And what's even better is that this angle now is free.
The full VOD of me reviewing a Masters Brawl team is linked in the top right if you're interested. Speaking about rotations, you can use TP defensively when you're holding space to rotate quickly. For instance, you'll see Owl teams on Basan Mecha Base set up a TP between the 2 chokes, or on Lijiang Control Center, you'll see some teams set up a TP between the choke near spawn and the corner near point. This is done because they don't want to get caught off guard by a rotation bait, or if they catch someone wanting to get away with a greedy flank, they can rotate quickly. Another use for TPs is to quickly get back from spawn, but it can often be hard to tell when you should solely use TP for spawn advantage, so here's top 500 Symmetra player Abandoned explaining a general rule of thumb for spawn TPs, as well as some encouraging factors in terms of team composition that may influence you wanting to do spawn TPs.
The rule of thumb for using spawn TPs is you want to use it on a map where the teleporter will almost completely cut away your walk back time. If the spawn distance to walk back was double this, I just wouldn't use this TP because it wouldn't be providing as much advantage. If your team's running something that gets more picks like Zen and a Roadhog, that can be really good for spawn TP, just because, or Doomfist especially. Is if Doomfist trades and he has a spawn TP, well, that's like fantastic. He has near instant spawns and the enemy team has to walk all the way back.
Building off why you wouldn't want to use Sim TP for faster spawns, here's Tempole and Abandoned showing some visual examples of using TP to control high ground.
Again, it would be really nice right now to have your teleporter that you could be using to go up here to go spam them with right clicks and just be like pew pew pew, and I'm going back here. And I'm with my team again, because they destroyed a few turrets, and I want to replace them. And then I'm back up here, pew, pew, pew! But you know what? We'll deal.
You can also have it going high ground and just shoot down on enemies if they're not running a more mobile comp. If you need to contest high ground, you'll want to have your TP. Just the amount of immediate value you can get is far, far more than you can get out of a fancy smancy spawn TP.
This is particularly useful if you have heroes such as Ana or Sigma who can't reach high ground as easily, to allow them to gain a lot more value. Lastly, you can use TP as a kiting tool before the fight begins. For instance, on King's Road Defense second point, you can place a TP by the library in response to a nanoblade or against a high noon with speed boost. Lastly, whilst it is quite well known, you can teleport Diva Bombs in positions where they are in LOS and range of the enemy team to catch the enemy team off guard. You can also do flank shatters by TPing your Reinhardt directly behind the enemy team. Symmetra's ultimate, Big Funny Shield, makes Symmetra deploy a 4000 HP barrier across the map lasting 12 seconds. The fundamental use of Sim's wall is to split the map, as Spilo explains and gives a visual example of here.
There's Team A and there's Team B, and I see Symmetras on Team A, they'll do a wall like this, and I'm like, why, what does that do? Or they'll do a wall like this, and I'm like, oh, all this team has to do is run away, and they're not doing it, this wall doesn't do anything, or they walk through the wall and now it's not doing anything. If the fight is happening here, the best way to use your wall is split right down the middle. Because that way that wall is accessible here, or here, or here, or here. It's like constantly, like all the way down between you and the enemy team. You can jiggle back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's so disruptive. I think the sim wall sucks. The fight is not happening here. The fight is happening across the point. The whole sim wall is such an easy ultimate, and I don't understand how people don't understand this. Split the fight. Put it in the middle of the fight. So this sim wall needs to either be positioned here or positioned to go across this way. This is a bad sim wall. Kevster can do better than this. He leaves it on one side, which means basically his entire team has to hug this area of the map to get anything out of it, and ultimately it gets them shattered. If this sim wall is better, he doesn't get shattered. He's a million charged, and they might even clutch this fight.
You can also use Symmetra Wall to take space against the enemy zoning ults, acting like a wider Reinhardt barrier. For example, on Havana first point defense, when trying to touch cart, if the enemy McCree high noons, you can simply block it with your shield to allow your team to safely rotate and contest cart. Lastly, you can actually use Sim Wall reactively against Sombra's EMP, as Harmony explains here.
If you place Photon Barrier right before you get EMP'd, then there's a very brief moment where your wall is still being deployed and it won't get destroyed by EMP. To time it correctly, wait for Sombra to fully come out of stealth or to finish translocating, and then press left click to place your wall right after Sombra begins the EMP, which has a cast time of 0.35 seconds.
Moving on to the positioning, playstyle and compositional part of this guide. The key goal with Symmetra is to close distance to charge up and maximize your beam uptime. Aside from short sightlines, you can achieve this with good corner discipline and movement. For instance, on Havana's second point attack, there is plenty of cover on high ground for you to rotate to, whilst there aren't many options on cart. Also note that you can beam their core from high ground, but I would be cautious of longer range hit scan clearing you, hence sticking to corners whilst you beam from high ground is going to be important. With Symmetra and Brawl, due to your limited range and mobility, you should use TP to close distance and clear angles. For instance, on Havana first point attack, you could TP underneath high ground with your team to clear it. In a Brawl mirror, having a higher uptime on beam is key. For instance, on Lijiang Control Center, this position has cover and another angle to apply more pressure safely. In Poke, controlling angles and high ground is going to be your win condition, with slightly shorter sightlines as well. For instance, on Junkertown second point attack, you could TP top left with your Sigma, which gives you a mid to short range sightline and another angle where the enemy team can't hide from damage. In Dive, target priority and squishies can be quite valuable, as Spilo explains here.
I actually think in terms of target focus, focusing Monkey is good. But if they're running like Ball or something like that, you should focus DPS instead. Because you're going to get, even if it's like a little awkward, but if you land like a right click on a Genji or a Sombra or a Tracer, that's going to be a lot more valuable than beaming down a Ball who you're probably not going to kill anyway. Because like if you can force recall or translocator or deflect or something like that's a lot of pressure off of your team.
You can also TP squishies away from a dive, as Spilo yet again explains here.
For our backlines here, I'm going to set up a TP like right here to right here. And then as you get dove, you can just TP across here. And even if your whole team doesn't take it, it's a distraction. And it also splits their target focus when they actually do dive. Because they're like, oh, we got to break the TP, you know. It's like, so you can utilize your TP to like scuff up dives.
A visual example of this could be on Lijiang Gardens, where you set up a TP from close side to spawn. Note that the closer the TP is to your spawn, the harder it is to destroy. Lastly, here's Spilo explaining some specific turret usage against dive.
Use your turrets to deny flanks instead of just AFKing on choke. I think it was hybrid Symmetra. London was sitting on the point, and they were like getting dove, right? And they had Symmetra. And hybrid was like either saving turrets for TP bomb on an Ana, or he was like throwing turrets on the main. when he really should have been throwing turrets behind. Even just 1 or 2 on a Tracer or a Doomfist flanking is really annoying for them to deal with. To play Symmetra in a dive, utilize your turrets to like harass Tracer flanks, Genji flanks, Sombra flanks, things like that.
Note that using turrets to help win flank wars also tie into this as well. Well, that's the guide. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and if this video helped to raise your IQ, be sure to share it with your friends to also raise theirs. Until next time.